the Safety Advocacy podcast. We are here again, but this time around we are bringing another powerful woman in this industry, not only in Nigeria, not only in Africa, but globally. One of the women that are playing the role of health and safety in this global village. May I introduce us to our great leader of women in health and safety in Nigeria and Africa at large, Madam Monica Nwosu. Madam, nice to see this your beautiful and lovely face.
Thank you so much for having me, Engineer Jamiu.
I will have called you the princess of safety. You are older than princess. The queen of safety should be better. So, Madam, the topic today is a little bit different from the angles of chemical safety we have done, business continuity we have done. This is very important to us, especially most of us from the African side. Domestic staff and safety. How can we get it right now? Madam Monica, can you just shoot the gun? Let us hear from you, domestic staff and safety.
All right, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for putting this together. I really commend the Safety Advocates and Empowerment Foundation Group. Thank you so much.
This our leader, thank you.
Really very laudable. Okay, domestic staff and safety. This is a very passionate topic to me, of course, considering the fact that not only that I'm a woman, I'm also a safety professional. And you notice that almost all of us we are always at work, and then we spend like 70 to 80% of our time at work trying to make ends meet. And with the hustle and bustle in Lagos, you know that definitely you need one caregiver or another in order to help you to relieve the home end while you are at work. We all have nannies, we all have drivers, we all have helps, we all have even loved ones that live with us while we are at work. Now, if you look at our workplaces, we tend to have a lot of safety protocols, safety policies and procedures that have been established within our workplaces to guarantee our health and safety while we are at work. Now, the question is, while we are away from home and we are at work, what about the safety of those people that we have left behind, particularly those domestic workers that work with us while we are not at home? If there's a fire incident while you are at work, what would happen? How would they be able to navigate? Are they aware of what to do? Do they have some basic knowledge? I'm not talking about technical knowledge. We're talking about some basic health and safety knowledge of what to do in case there are, safety emergencies while you are at work. Now, I'm going to quickly look at 4 key areas that we have commonest safety incidences occurring in our homes. Number 1 I want to look at is the aspect of falls, slips, and trips. When you look at our home arrangement and how our homes have been arranged, you'll discover that when our domestic workers are working, particularly our helps and our domestic staff, when they are working in the kitchen or bathroom or even in the staircases, a lot of incidences can occur at home. Not because really they want these incidences to occur, because they are not conscious or aware of some of the things around that can predispose your loved ones to to hazards. So they are not aware of it. So for instance, they work or they cook with gases, in the terms of cooking gases. They spill water on the floor. The oil is spilled on the floor, and then you have children running around. In fact, statistics shows that the younger ones and the elderly ones are the ones that are majorly susceptible to falls in the home. And Home Safety Council in US actually stumbled on the statistics, shows that over 40% of the injuries that they record, mostly when it comes to home accident, actually are as a result of slips, trips, and fall. Home Safety Council. And 18,000 people in America. Sorry, I'm have to use American statistics because those are the ones that were readily available to me when I was looking at this.
We don't have statistics in Nigeria.
Yes, 18,000 people actually die as a result of home accidents. And when you look at this critically, over 40% of these 18,000 actually died through falls, slips, and trips. Even bathroom, our elderly ones can fall, they can trip, and all of that. So we need to make our domestic workers conscious to know when there is small oil on the floor, they need to clean it. I had an incident that almost occurred in my neighborhood, true life incident, where a gas explosion almost happened. The domestic staff was not aware that there was a gas leakage. Thank God that the house owner had not left the house and perceived something smelling in the kitchen, and lo and behold, there was a leaking gas. So she had to tutor the person, her domestic worker. She had to train them and all of that. Now, because of time, away from falls, slips, and trips, let's look at fire emergency, and which is one of the commonest we experience in this part of the world. How many of us have fire extinguishers at home? I keep asking this question whenever I have the opportunity. Even if we do have, how many of us service it? And then to take it further, how many of us have loved ones, domestic workers that can use these fire extinguishers? In fact, a majority of us think that fire extinguishers should be used only at home. And then you notice that we are not even prepared for emergency. Most of our exit doors are all barricaded with one thing or the other. And in fact, if there's an emergency, trust me, the majority of the people that you have left behind at home might be confused as to what to do in order for them to be able to escape. They should be able to have some basic knowledge. Let me tell you another incident again that happened with my neighbor. I trained some of my neighbors, and I say this story anywhere I go because it is so touchy. I trained one of my neighbors' domestic staff, and shortly after there was a fire incident in their home, and lo and behold, nobody was at home. And thank God that she was part of the training, and she was able. Initially, she did not remember, but because she has that training, that knowledge, she was able to adopt the simple acronym of PASS. Of course, we all know what PAS means. Because of time,
please, we don't know. People don't know. Look, we have a lot of audience in the global world. They don't understand PASS. They think PASS is you pass exam. Please let us know. Please don't worry. Let us know, please.
So it's a very simple acronym for how to use fire extinguisher, and it is called PAS. P means pull, and then of course you aim, and then of course you squeeze, and after squeezing, I think the last S means you sweep. And when you are sweeping aiming at the base of the fire. But funny enough, this fire happened right at the roof of the house. So what did she do? She pulled the pin from there, and then she aimed it, and then of course she remembered that auntie said the base. So she aimed at the base, and she swept her hand, and she was able to fight that fire. Very simple acronym, and she was able to salvage that house from burning down. Okay, now away from fire, I just want to quickly look at something very, very important that we all overlook constantly in our homes: poisons and substances that are hazardous and dangerous to health. Sometimes you notice that we use containers and we don't label them, and they lie all around in our kitchen particularly. We don't even put them in heights where people are not able to reach them. And our domestic workers, they are ignorant. Majority of them are not aware of what to do. You discover that sometimes our children fall victim of this. Another fundamental thing I didn't say at the beginning, which I want to also say, is when we bring in these domestic staff, another thing we need to do, we must do background check for them, which is very, very important. I mean, that point is actually one of the things I should have actually started with the introduction. Do background check for them. Know who they are. Regardless of the fact that the person that is bringing them in and done a background check, also ensure that you do your own background check. Very important. Some of them have motive. It may not know. Some of them have scores to settle. Let's go into long stories. I have heard stories. I mean, we all heard stories of the is it Orekoyas? We also heard stories of the High Court commissioner. Is it commissioner now? In one of these southwest states, that their house helps had to deal with them in so many ways, and these are people that they trusted as their caregiver. Aside from doing background check, we also need to do health surveillance for them periodically. I had cases. I am a mother of 3. And then you need to constantly do health surveillance check for them periodically, especially for infectious diseases, so that they can be aware. If you are not a health and safety professional out there, this is the opportunity for you to train yourself for some basic health and safety measure. Can you use fire extinguishers? What is the emergency exit and emergency protocol? What is even the number for calling when there are simple emergencies? Are you aware of the 112? Are you aware of the 767? Are you aware? Your member of your family, are they aware of?
Thank you, Madam
so
Monica.
much.
This is very wonderful, very beautiful, and it's clearly understood. We got to right, Madam. But we have some questions they've sent for you, and one of such questions is, yes, you've told us to do background check, and you moved to health surveillance. Could you please expatiate more on the type of health surveillance you want us to check for our caregivers?
Thank you so much, Engineer. That was a very fantastic question. Now, health, let me start with background check. There are, like I said, ignorance is not an excuse. There are agencies, yes, I agree, that, are specialists, or they are specialized in making sure that you get professional helps for your homes. However, you still need to go a step further by engaging professionals to run background check and make sure that you have at least one person that is related to that person, or one person that can be a guarantor, because some of these people that also recruit them, they could connive with them, and within a twinkle of eye, trust me, you will not see them again if you are not sure of where they come from. When they drop their addresses for you, get someone. It won't cost you a lot. It will not. Trust me, I promise you it won't. Get someone to also go and verify some of the information they have dropped, their addresses, the names of their guarantor. Go verify. Those guarantors, do they exist? It will amaze you that some of these guarantors do not exist.
Wow.
Because some of the agencies that recruit them, I'm talking from experience, some of the agencies that recruit them, sometimes they do not do this thorough background check, maybe because of limited resources. Now, that said, concerning medical surveillance, there are some infectious diseases that are readily contagious, like hepatitis B, like HIV. Then, of course, medical experts could advise you also on what. I had a recent case recently where I sent someone. Okay, I had interviewed the help, and she was supposed to resume. Lo and behold, I sent her for tests, and she never came back, because I told her that I needed to run some tests. Till today, as I speak to you, she didn't come back. I won't say she ran away, but she didn't come back. And I'm very probably sure that the reason she didn't come back is probably because she knew that there are some, maybe some infectious diseases she probably was hiding away.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's scared that, look, the test will be something. Or maybe
Yes,
she's even scared that the test can even give COVID.
Engineer, it will amaze you on what the test will reveal. It will amaze
agree
you.
with you.
It will amaze you. The
That's
test
good.
reveals a whole lot. And it's even advisable to run this test every 6 months if you give them off every month. Because some of the help, some of them, some of the agreement you have with them is that they will go off, one weekend in order for them to, go see their loved ones. And when they come back after 6 months, it is advisable to still run another set of tests for them. It's
Thank you very much for this health surveillance, health risk assessment. These are the areas we miss, even in workplaces. Health risk assessment, surveillance is very important.
I totally agree with
We'll
you.
just leave those parts, and we'll concentrate on somebody falling down from the height alone. And we have a lot of illnesses that has made most of our staff, our colleagues, we have lost them.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Madam. A question has also been sent again, and this time around the question goes to the chemical part. The man from the audience is asking that he listened to a lecture on chemical safety on this podcast, and the same speaker, Julius Akmonk, mentioned labeling of chemicals. He even said globally harmonized system for labeling and classification of chemicals. He's now asking, is it the same way we do in the workplace that we label chemicals? We should start labeling things in our own house too?
Fantastic question. Very fantastic. I said that knowledge is very key. And then the truth is, for someone that is not a health and safety professional, You would definitely not expect that the person will use the international coding from the chemical labeling for labeling. But we are advising that please retain chemical in their original containers.
Good.
Please retain chemicals in the original container, and please store away all chemicals from the reach of children. Make sure that it is not readily reachable. They are not readily, it's not readily accessible to them. Lock it up in, in containers where children are very adventurous. You cannot. I particularly when I was younger, I took different versions of Dettol Azal with my sister. We mixed different versions together in different bottles, and we're trying to see it bubble and foam. So children are very adventurous. Because you may not be knowledgeable as to the technicality involved in labeling and all of that, we advise as much as possible, please retain chemicals in their original container. Particularly this period where all of us are trying to be more hygiene conscious with the advent of the COVID pandemic. Some of the chemicals we use in cleaning are increased. When we use a lot of different chemicals, I don't know their names right now, I can't begin to mention their names. But please, as much as you use these chemicals and your caregivers use this chemical, advise them, educate them, get a box. You can label that box and make it tight and take it out of the reach. In fact, if possible, store it outside the kitchen or outside your bathroom where it is readily accessible to them. The key here is retain an original container, and another key thing is keep away from reach, because it is within the home confines. We'll not be able to go into technicality of chemical risk assessment to know how to label, how to do that. And then sometimes the manufacturer also do us good. They give us some of the basic tips and basic information, which one is flammable, which one is poisonous, which one should not be. In fact, all chemicals, really. Regardless of what the manufacturer had advised, all chemicals should be treated with utmost caution. Make sure that you store them where your loved ones do not readily, get access to them. And please educate your domestic staff. Yes.
One domestic staff, about some years back, in a kitchen, she saw cockroach just moving around their soup. In her own very opinion, this cockroach must not go, because if it goes, you still come back and taste from their soup. So she picked up insecticides,
yes.
and it was also boiling some things on the fire. So she tried to kill the mosquito, shouted, "Hey, mosquito!" And she don't know, explosion there.
Yes.
Fire again from domestic staff, even from the home. But then what do you see to this?
Okay, that boils down to, again, lack of awareness. In fact, sometimes it's not even domestic staff. It's also even the madam of the house, the house owners also fall victim to this same ignorance. And that is why we keep saying that safety is everyone's responsibility. That you do not know is not an excuse. That you do not know that does not mean explosion will not happen. So that's why you need to educate yourself. Look for knowledge. Gather knowledge. It is very, very important. You must be able to know some basic information on the labels. If you look at that insecticide, the manufacturer had already written down that, in fact, they even put the chemical sign for you to know that it is highly flammable and you shouldn't take it near, gaseous environment or flammable open fire like the case that you just mentioned. So people should really, and then safety professional. I think this is an opportunity for us to begin to advocate more. Yeah. We need to actually begin, and let's start from our homes, from our loved ones. If all of us take it upon ourselves to educate all of our loved ones around us, our elderly ones, our caregivers, our children, we educate them. Do you know we have been able to educate a whole community? Because I have a community in my house. Exactly. So educating my household is like educating a whole community. Imagine my neighbor that I trained on basic use of fire extinguisher. I mean, for me, I felt like a superwoman when I came back home. And really, we should start by creating that time. I was in another podcast with the safety chick, and I was telling her that we should actually have what we call safety family meetings. And she laughed. And she said, wow, it sounded so technical. But I said, we all have family discussion. It must not be technical. We should sit down and be able to say, in case there's an emergency, how do we navigate? What do we do? So we need to talk about these things. We need to educate safety professionals. We need to start from our different spheres of influence. Start within your niche. Educate people within your community. Educate people within your family. In fact, in my home, they know you dare not come to do any work in my home if you're not properly kitted. In fact, sometimes it causes some rift between myself and my spouse, but I insist, if you want to come do any electrical work in my house, you must be properly kitted. It's a rule. It's a rule. Yes.
Because if they are not, and as they happen in
you
your house,
liable.
you are liable.
You are liable.
They will come to pick you
True. You are liable.
Please, audience, please check note. Today, a lesson I always say that we've taken now is, if you check the play mirror, look into the play mirror, whoever you see is the person responsible for your safety. If you see Madam Monica, then let him be controlling you. And if you see one village woman in your village, let her be controlling you. But me, I'm going to see myself. I am responsible for my safety.
True.
And you should also be. Thank you, Madam Monica, for coming.
Thank you for
lovely
having me.
Presentation.
Thank you so much.
Very, very wonderful, very brilliant as usual.
You.
Please, we thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much.
You're still coming back for other technical part because you can't read from it. Management system is there. A lot of technical area. Environmental management.
It's also dear to my heart. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Because you are a mother, and this is the period we are celebrating women in the world. Once
again,
thank
you so much.
Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience. God bless you all.
Thank you.